Hi, you're welcome to my channel. My name is Ndifon Ntui, and on this channel I make sewing tutorials. I post new videos every Wednesdays and Saturdays. Even though I didn't post last week, let's all pretend that I did. So in this video we're going to be dissecting this black dress that was made by the legendary fashion house Giambattista Valli. This is the second video. This is the second installment of dissecting the red carpet. It's a series where I revisit old red carpet, where I visit red carpet dresses that were made in the previous years, and we remake them on the channel. So if you like that sort of if you like stuff like that, check my previous video. So let's get on with the video. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. I'm going to see you guys next week. Also, if you're a beginner or you have a business already but you want to just improve on yourself, I offer online courses. If you're interested, please call the number that I can see on the screen. I'll be giving a demo so that you can watch and see if this online way is the way for you. So I'm going to give you a free demo for you to watch and decide if it's for you. The demo is going to show you how to make a jumpsuit. If you're interested, contact the number on the screen, and I'll see you guys in my WhatsApp, because it's WhatsApp only. Have a nice day. Bye. So first of all, go down low. No, I'm playing. This is the part one of this video. The part is coming this weekend. So we're going to need a yardstick, our markers. You can use a pen or a pencil, in the measuring tape, and you're also going to need your pattern paper. So you can get brown paper or construction paper. The first thing I want you to do is just to simply collapse your paper. If you want to remake this, you just simply need all the things I've mentioned. So the first thing we're going to do, this is just a pencil dress. It just has a little tweaks here and there, so treat it as so. So I folded it, and as you can see, the center line is facing me, so all my patterns will be, the entire draft will be facing me. At the very top, I want you to mark ½ an inch up there. Come to the very top, you see ½ an inch from the edge of the fabric to that dot there is ½ an inch, and I'm going to rule a line across that point. So that's half inch allowance I've kept at the top. Now I want you to place all the vertical measurements. Vertical measurements are the measurements that come from your shoulder going down. Okay, for instance, your underbust length, your dress length, all those measurements that come from the shoulder going down. Okay, those are the vertical measurements. The first one I'm going to play is my underbust length. This is a very vital measurement. This tells us where to place other measurements. It's very useful. So that's my underbust length right there. Okay, so let me label it. This is the shoulder. Okay, and this part here is my underbust length. All right, so we're going to use our underbust length to find all our other measurements. Now the next measurement I'm going to find is my bust point. The bust point is the distance from the shoulder to the nipple. Now I don't always take this because it's a bit it's a bit impolite, sorry. This is the formula for how to find your bust point. So that is where I've placed my bust. My underbust length -4. The next thing I'm going to place is my half cut. Okay, now this is where the skirt meets the top part, the half cut. Now how to find your half cut is your underbust length plus 2 inches. Okay, so my underbust length is 13. I've marked my half cut at 15. All right, so now simply roll lines across the points I just marked. So that's my bust. This is my half cut I just marked. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to find my hip measurements. Now when I'm trying to find my hip measurements, I take my tape, I come to my half cut, and I count 9 inches down. Okay, now all these measurements I've used, the 4 inches for my bust and the 2 inches to find my half cuts, they are all standard measurements. They work across a wide range of measurements. So like I said, this is my hip line at 9 inches, 9 inches from the half cut. I'll now rule a line across this point. this is where I will place my hip measurements. Okay, so I'm going to label here as my hip line. As you've seen, all these measurements, we have not placed all our measurements across. We just marked the points where we intend to place our horizontal measurements. So the vertical measurements are basically measurements that tell you where to place other measurements. All right, like your dress length tells you that your dress should stop here. Your underbust length tells you your underbust round should fall here. So they serve as guides. Okay, so now for the dress length, my dress length is 33. The dress is a very short dress, so you see that I'm going to come to the bottom. I have to move the paper because my table is quite small, so I'm simply rolling a straight line across that point. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to label it. Okay, this is the dress length. Now the dress length is a vertical measurement. Like I said, it's telling you where the dress should stop. So you see that, and please make sure you place the tape after the half-inch line, not at the top of the paper. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start placing all my measurements across. The first one I'm going to place is my bust measurement. My bust measurement is 33. 33 is divided by 4. 33 divided by 4 is 8.25. So you can use your calculator, or you can fold your tape into 4 places, just like I've done. So you see that? Now that's 8.25. I'm going to come from the edge and I'm going to make a mark at where 8.25 is. The next measurement I'm going to place is the underbust round measurement. Underbust round measurement is 28. 28 divided by 4 is 7. I'm going to place the exact same thing at the half cut. The body doesn't really change, just 2 inches after the underbust round, so you can also place the same thing on your half cut and everything will be good. Now I'll come to my hip and I'm placing my hip at 9.25. So now when we come down here, I'm going to reduce this place by half an inch. So at my hip I had 9.25, so down here I'm going to use 8.75. so if you see, this doesn't go all the way down to the knee, it's a bit short. If you use 2 inches there, it's going to be too tight. So what you would do is you're going to subtract 2 inches from the hip, half an inch from the hip and place down there. If you have 10 here, down there you will place 9.5. I have 9.25, so down there I'm going to place 8.75. Please, I hope that is clear. If you have 10 for your hip, place 9.5 down there, because at this point it has not gone all the way down to the knee. So if you use 2 inches, it will be too tight, so use only half inch at that point if yours will be that short. When I was done with that, I simply connected all the dots that I have. So at the top part of the dress, we don't have a neckline. It just swoops from the top all the way down. So now up here, first of all, I'm going to place my shoulder measurement. My shoulder measurement is 14. 14 divided by 2 is 7. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to place 7. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to need to slope my shoulder by 1 inch. So you've seen what I've done. After the shoulder point, after that half-inch line that we drew the first time, I just came back by 1 inch. Okay, now I just drew a line from the edge of the half-inch line I drew to the slope, the shoulder slope I just sloped. The next thing I'm going to place is my armhole measurement. The armhole measurement, the formula for finding your armhole is your bust divided by 6 plus 1.5. So my bust divided by 6 plus 1.5 is plus 1.5 is 7. Okay, so I'm going to come down here and I'm going to roll a line from straight line from up to down, okay, to the point where I have the 7. I'm going to come to the middle of the armhole, that's 3.5. 7 divided by 2 is 3.5. Come to the middle there, that's 3.5. I've made a mark there. I'm going to come in by half an inch, just like I've just done. Okay, so I'm going to now roll a line from here to here and then taper it out. Now we're done with the basic bodice block. Now it's time to now make the tweaks to it that will turn it into whatever we're trying to achieve. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to have to locate where her bust point is. That's where her nipple is. Okay, so we know that the bust area is where the nipple is sitting. Now it's at this point is that we'll now employ our bust span measurement. Our bust span measurement is 7 inches. 7 inches divided by 2 is 3.5 plus half an inch is 4. So down here I'm going to place 4 right here. So we've now found where her nipple is. This is going to make sure that however extreme we make our neck to be, we would know that we are not going to be exposing some parts of our areola or her nipple, and it won't look so tacky. You know, it's already a design that is very exposed, so we'll try to make sure that she doesn't spill. So this is the neckline we're dealing with. Okay, so the neckline width, I want you to use 4 inches. Okay, so I'll come to the under bust round, make a mark at 1.5, come to the half cut, make a mark at 1.5. okay, first of all I marked here at 4 inches, I came to the half cut and I marked 1.5. so draw a straight line from the 4 inches to the 1.5 now. So I'm going to draw the straight line from here to here, just like I have done. You see that line? Now we are done with whatever the neckline is supposed to be. Now we have to provide a dart that will work for that bust, okay, because as you have seen, she's not wearing a bra, so you have to, make a cut that's going to accommodate the bust. As for this dart, we're going to use a shoulder bustier cut. Okay, so we'll come to where 4 inches is. From here to here is 4 inches. I want you to come to the midpoint here, connect the line from the nipple point to that 4 inches. You see this? Okay, and then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to come to the middle of the shoulder that you have left. Okay, you see that point from there to there is 3 inches. The middle of that shoulder that we have left is 1.5. Connect the 1.5 to the bust. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to have to make a dart at that point. What we're going to do is we're going to come to that bottom part right here. You see the center line that I have here? I want you to place your tape. Take one, place one in the center of that line and make a line and make a mark on both sides. Okay, now you see this. From here I'm going to rule a line to the bust point. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to come up to the shoulder part, place our tape. You see this part here, take the middle of one, which is half an inch. You see that, place it there, mark here, okay, and then do the same thing. Draw a line from there to the midpoint and draw a line from here to where we marked the bust point the first time. At this point, now we have formed a dart at this point, and now we're going to need to replace all the measurements, because you see all these darts, they have taken out numbers, inches from your measurements. So you see this part here, when we're sewing it, we'll consume half. So that first half is 1 inch. Okay, the first 1 inch is the 1 inch in the middle. Now the other 1 inch would be the first, would be the 1 inch that we use to sew them together. All right, I hope that is clear. The first one is the 1 inch in the middle, and the second 1 inch we've added to that shoulder is what we use to sew it back. When you're done, just simply retrace a new armhole. Now you see this place here, I've taken out 2 inches. Here is 1 inch, here is 1 inch. We're going to need to pay it back at this point right here, so we're paying back 2 inches. Okay, so you see these 2 inches here, we're going to come here and pay it back at this point. When we're done with that, simply just rule a straight line from the armhole straight down. So we're done with constructing the top part. The next thing we'll have to do is to keep the allowance at the top part, because we have to join the shoulders at the end of the day. So we'll make a mark at the top. Okay, so now I'm going to cut here. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do, please let me replace the allowance before I forget, because that one is not the actual allowance, it's just paying for the joining, just like that extra red line at the shoulder is paying for the allowance at the shoulder. So now I'm keeping my regular allowance of 2 inches. Okay, so you see this, that's just my normal allowance. So I'm coming from the green area, I'm going to cut the new armhole that we have. Okay, you see this point, I'm going to come from the front here, add ½ inch in front of there. Don't cut on the red line exactly. Okay, now cut like so, come up out of here, slice off the excess from the top, leaving the new allowance that we added, and then simply cut this line. So you see now we formed the dart. This part I'm holding the center piece, this side here is the side. Now please don't forget at the bottom part we kept 1.5. When you're fixing that, you're going to need to take cognizance of that 1.5. The next thing we're going to do, this is the skirt pattern. We've cut off the top part. We're going to need to add our dart. Okay, so the bust point to bust point was 4 inches, so I'm going to come from the edge here to here, 4 inches, and the dart down I'm going to hold 4.5. okay, so from the top to where I marked now is 4.5. I want you to draw a straight line from the top to the 4.5. So see, I'm placing the center of one, the middle of 1 inch. I'm going to place it here, make a mark on both sides, so that's half inch on both sides of that line. So I'm going to rule a line connecting here to here, and I'm going to rule another line connecting here to here. So now I've made a dart in front of the skirt. the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to keep all my regular allowances. So up here I'm going to keep 2 inches because of that dot. So 3 inches here, then regular 2 inches here, and I'm going to keep 2 inches here. This is my regular allowance. Okay, I'm going to simply rule a line to show the part, and at the bottom part I'm going to need to keep only half an inch because I'm going to use the fabric to face it. Okay, so when we're transferring this to the fabric, we'll need to add half inch at the top. Rule a line at the bottom. That's the only allowance you add at the bottom of the dress, only half an inch at the bottom. So to cut it out, we're going to cut just like you've seen. As for the back, I'm going to repeat the exact same thing, but I'll need to draft the bodice for the back. So for the back, I'm going to draft the exact same thing for the back. There's no difference. When it's difference, I'm going to show you where there's a difference. This is the paper for the back. I simply just folded it in half just like we did to the front. The first thing I want you to do is I want you to draw a line that is going to mark out your zipper allowance. So I'm keeping 2 inches for my zipper allowance. I'm going to simply mark that 2 inches all the way from top to the bottom, and now I'm going to rule a line to connect all my 2 inches. That's my zipper allowance. Okay, so I'm marking out my 2 inches. After I'm done with that, I'm going to draw all my vertical measurements. Okay, so please notice when I'm placing all my measurements, I'm placing it from that zipper boundary. Okay, so from here I'm placing my bust measurements. See the edge I'm placing it from. Okay, see, I'm placing it from the edge. Start from the edge to take your measurements. That zipper allowance we kept should serve as your guide, telling you where you should take your measurement. So this is the basic bodice block for the back. So all the measurement were taken from that point, like I have stated over and over. So from here down is basically the same thing with what happened in front. Nothing has really changed. Okay, so now when I'm done with that, I came to my shoulder. So from here to here, I placed my shoulder measurements. Now notice that I still observed that 2 inches. The next thing I placed was my neckline width. My neckline width was 3.5. Here to here is 3.5, but from here down is 6. So from here to here is 6 inches. From here to the other side is 3.5. So my neckline width is 3.5, neckline depth is 6. When I'm done with that, the next thing comes to the top part. I'm going to have to slope my shoulder. The same thing what we did in front, and from here the armhole is 7 inches, exactly what we did in front. So the only difference is that I'm not going to come in. Remember how we came in front? I'm not going to do that at the back. I'm going to just draw a slope at the end. So I'm going to roll a parallel line that's going to serve as my allowance at my shoulder. So remember, the back has to have the cuts that the front has at the half cut. So let's understand what's happening to our dart. So from the shoulder here, I'm going to come to where 7 is. You see this point? Make a mark where 7 inches is. So from the shoulder to that point is 7 inches. And then I want you to come from the boundary. Okay, that's zipper allowance boundary. I want you to make sure that that's sitting at 4 inches. Come to the half cut, make a mark at 4 inches. Draw a straight line from that point to the half cut. And the same thing we did at the dart in front, we'll do the same thing at the back. Remember, at the front we came down by 4.5. Make sure you do the same thing here. So from the half cut, we're going to come down by 4.5. So you see, now that completes the line. The next thing I want you to do is come to the half cut line. I want you to place the middle of 1 on that line. The middle of 1 is half inch. Place half inch here and mark half inch on both sides at the half cut. Now make a mark from that point there where we marked 7, from the shoulder 7. That point connect here to here, and then connect here to the other half inch at the half cut, and then taper it out from here to the bottom of the dart. Taper it out to the bottom of the dart. Now we're very sure of what's happening with the dart. The next thing we're going to do is, if you remember in front, we made a cut into the half cut. Now from that point, this point here, the edge of the half cut, okay, I want you to come to the front of the half cut right here. Take away 1 inch from the half cut up, and come to the bottom part, take away 1 inch. So from the half cut, mark half inch up and then mark half inch down from the half cut. Okay, so you see here, place here, mark here, mark here. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to draw a straight line across. So I'm going to draw a line from here to here. I'm going to draw another line from here to here. All this thing that all these steps we're taking is because I want it to really lay very, very flat on her back to accentuate the curve from her back to her bum, make her waist look really tiny. So now you come to the zipper allowance, the front. I want you to come in by half an inch. Come in, so you see the edge of the paper. From the edge of the paper, look closely. I want you to come in here by half an inch. Okay, come to the bottom part, do the same thing, come in by half an inch. Connect a line from the top of the zip point to that point. Then the next thing you will do is this. You see this new half-inch line we have? You come to the bottom here, take away 1 inch. This down part, the hem of the dress, take away 1 inch at that point. Draw a line from your hip to the hem. Okay, you see that point, just mark the 1 inch, and then draw a line from that half inch at the waist to the hip. A lot of steps, but you didn't think it would be easy. It's a giambattista valli dress. So here I'm going to make a mark at 3 inches because of the darts that we took away 1 inch from the darts. We'll come here, place 2 inches. You see that, mark half inch at the bottom, connect the 2 inches, connect the 2 inches, connect this one. Remember, we kept 3 inches at the half cut because of that dart. Okay, now I'm going to simply cut out here, cut here out. Okay, ooh, that's too bright. Cut here out, right? Cut at the top and slope around the neck, and then cut the zip area. That's the pattern for the top part. So for the pattern for the down part, we'll cut here like so, cut the half inch too straight down, cut around the curve, yeah, cut this side and then cut up. All right, so that's all. Now let's not get carried away and forget the fact that this has a net on the side. You see in the dress I just showed you guys, there's a net on the side. We have to make sure that we do the same thing here. So you see this edge, okay, you see the front and the back, that area is exactly the same. The only difference between the front and the back of the skirt is that zipper allowance that we have in front. Okay, now if you remember, that line there represents the edge, the outer part here represents the edge. So we'll come to that point where my finger just made that move, and we're going to take away 2 inches. That's going to be enough. That's where we're going to install the lace. So you see, from that border to here, 2 inches, come to this point, 2 inches, here 2 inches. Now it's not for my zipper allowance, it's inside of my actual pattern. That's where I'm taking away these 2 inches from. So at the waist I took away 2 inches, the hip took away 2 inches, at the hem of the dress I took away 2 inches. So we're going to now slice it. You see this? Now this edge, that's the part there that will be the actual solid fabric. This part I'm touching now, we're going to use this part to recreate the lace. What we have here is the black fabric I'm using. This is satin. It has a bit of stretch. If you're using a satin that has stretch, you have to be mindful of the grain. If I pull it here, it's not really stretching here. If I pull it on this side, you see that it's stretching more. So all my horizontal measurement should sit on that grain that has more stretch. Okay, so be careful whenever you're dealing with fabrics. So I'm just going to simply arrange my fabric. Okay, you know, it's a bit rumpled. I'm going to press and iron it so that it's a bit flatter. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my skirt pattern. Now this is the pattern for the back. You see that pattern here? That's the pattern for the back. If you notice, we'll need to add ½ inch at the top. That's the top edge where that red dot is. Okay, this edge here, that is what will happen with the net. But you see at the top part here, I'm keeping ½ inch there because it's going to need to be joined to the top part of the dress. But everywhere else would be exactly the same. So you see I'm maintaining the ½ inch at the top there. I'm going to cut this side exactly the same. The net is going to stretch. Make sure that you get a lace that is stretchy. Okay, now I'm going to need to cut this particular black here 2 times because I'm using the fabric to line it. I don't want to use cotton lining. If you use cotton lining with this sort of fabric, cotton lining doesn't have any stretch. The cotton lining will restrict the stretch of your satin, and that's not what you want. So for this, I'm going to use the fabric to line itself. So for every single part, for every single pattern that we have drafted so far, I'm going to cut 4 pieces for all the sides. So every single side is going to have a total of 4 sides. Okay, 4 pieces. Now if you've noticed, I have 4 pieces for this one. 2 pieces for the fabric, 2 pieces for the lining. I'm going to do this for all the other patterns. This is the front hip, the front skirt part, 4 times for that one. This part too, cut 4 pieces of fabric for that one. I'm going to do the same thing for all the sides, okay? Even these 2 small sides that make up the center of the front are going to be cut up like that, okay? You need to cut the pattern 2 times on the fold, 2 for the fabric, 2 for the lining. The only part it's not apply is when it's time to cut the net. You know, the net, we're going to only cut it once, but I'm going to show you what we will do by the time you get to that point, the point where we start working with the net. All right, so this pattern now, I'm going to cut 4 pieces for this time. When I'm done with that, I'll come back and show you. Okay, here you can see, here I have 4 patterns for this one. There are 4 pieces for this one, the center, and I've added 1/2 inch at the bottom. See this one here, okay? So see this 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 sides for the fabric, 2 sides for the lining. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to unpin the front, and it's time for us to start stitching. So here you can see, here we have 4 different pieces like I have said. Let's unpin it. Now we have 4 pieces because 2 is going to serve as the fabric and the remaining 2 will serve as the lining. So make sure you have the front side of your fabric facing you, okay? I'm trying to align everything. So okay, this part is going to serve as the part that will be outside. So the first thing is we're going to have to join these 2 patterns together. All right, so let's go to the machine. Let me show you how we bind this together. So to begin, we're going to join them together. Make sure that the sharp edge is facing outside here so that you place the small center piece correctly. So front side facing front side, I'm going to come to the bottom, start from the bottom and stitch all the way to the top. So I'm going to lock it at the beginning here, and I'm simply joining it from here all the way to the very top. Okay, so here you can see that it's already there's some vacuum, there's some air under there. That's because it has formed the space that the boat is supposed to occupy. So I want you to join the lining for this part exactly the same way. So this is the side I want to use as the lining. The line is supposed to sit on the reverse. So you take the front of the lining, make it face you by the time you've turned the good side down. Okay, so make sure the lining, the front side is also facing you too. You see the sharp side is facing inside. Now I want you to join them together. So the same thing from the bottom all the way to the top. Okay, I'm going to start from the bottom, join it all the way up to the top, lock it at that point, back stitch and lock it. Now we're done with joining the lining. What we're going to do next is I want you to push all the rough edge towards the side that has the armhole. Push all the rough edges towards that side, and I want you to top stitch on top of it to hold all the rough edges facing the inside. All right, so that's what I'm simply doing. I'm stitching all the way to the top, and mind you, I'm keeping the rough edge on that part there. So let's go to the table and press and iron. So what we have here is the this part here. This is the part that we're going to use as the lining. Let's iron it. The parts with the stitch is the side that we'll use for the lining. Okay, so press and iron it, make sure everything lays flat. Now this is the side that's going to be the front. We are not top stitching. I want you to have a smooth finish in front, so sprinkle some water, and then you see this, I'm going to spread and iron my seam so that my seam stays flat. All right, okay, iron the front. You see this side here doesn't have any seam on it, so the 2 parts are separate. I'm going to sew from here all the way to the top. So you see this part, joining the lining and the fabric together. All right, so you see that's loose. I'm going to run the seam and come back. Here you can see I've simply just run a stitch from the bottom to the top, binding them together. So we have to spread and iron it too so that it will be smooth in front. So we flip it upside down, simply repeat the same thing that I did on the other side. Okay, now this is the joining. I'm going to spread it, spread and iron it from the beginning to the end. Okay, turn to the front and iron it, making sure that everything lays smooth and flat. So I'm done with one side. I want you to repeat this exact same thing for the other side. You know, we have 4 sides, this is 2. Construct the other parts. Okay, voila, here you can see I have built the other side. So this is how yours should look. The part 2 of this video is coming on the weekend. Thank you for watching this far. I'm going to see you guys later. Have a nice day. Bye bye.